What's your favourite bit from the movie The Artist?
Answer me this, answer me this. Answer me this, answer me this.
That was a joke about silent film.
Yes, this week's Answer Me This is going to be entirely meta jokes. Get ready.
Come back!
Welcome to the show.
Yes.
We're starting with a question that's about someone who's not been in the public eye for quite some time.
Public eye.
Yeah, that's
well
right.
Well done, Ollie.
It's a pun.
Eye is a clue as to who's in this question, which is from Rebecca, from Felixstowe, who says, Ollie, answer me this. Surely the reason given on Wikipedia as to the origins of Gabrielle's eye injury
90s pop star Gabrielle, everyone.
isn't right.
Right.
And she's enclosed a screen grab where it says the eye patch that Gabrielle famously wore.
That's right.
During one of her
dreams may come true.
I'm ready to rise again.
No, I think she
No,
got
she had
rid
it
of
off
it
by
then.
that point, yeah, just in dreams. It's funny, isn't it, how in the public imagination she was always wearing an eye patch,
It
but
was
actually...
cool. It was a great look.
Because in the second album she had the hair going over, didn't she?
Yeah.
Third album, sunglasses.
But
Yeah.
information I always covered. Well, according to Wikipedia,
Yeah.
the eye patch was due to a childhood injury that she suffered at a Butlins resort after being involved in an unfortunate jousting accident during one of the many live medieval entertainment shows the Redcoats were putting on. That left her with a lazy eye, which soon became iconic. Now, this is no longer on Wikipedia,
Yeah, because it's bullshit, isn't it?
and actually her whole Wikipedia page does seem very sanitised because it is very much single releases. There's quite a lot to Gabrielle. She's had quite a topsy-turvy life.
Turbulent
and
private life.
the father of her son is an axe murderer. And that usually comes up in interviews. It is public domain knowledge, yet
Yeah.
not on the
Not on
bastion
Wikipedia.
of information that is Wikipedia.
Yeah, I hope you're not suggesting that a record company might censor the information that's on Wikipedia.
But it might make people think, oh, poor Gabrielle, she has suffered. I'll buy her records.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Gabrielle's own website does say that she had a childhood injury that left her
really?
with a drooping eyelid.
I thought she was just born with a lazy
With the drooping
eye.
eyelid, yeah. And in fact, there does seem to be contradictory information out there, because she did an interview with the Telegraph a few years ago, and the journalist there says she was born with a droopy eyelid. So there's conflicting information out there. But anyway, the main reason that this is firing off my bullshit detectors, Helen, is because, I mean, I've never went to Butlins in the 1970s, obviously,
But
because I wasn't born.
They weren't renowned for their medieval jousting?
That sounds like an American thing, doesn't it?
What, like a Renaissance fair?
Yeah, like in The Cable Guy, when they go
Is that
to
what
past
happens?
times.
And also, you wouldn't allow a child within several metres of a jousting
Yeah.
match. And if she did get a joust in the eye, she probably would have lost her entire brain and be dead.
That's right. And also, it probably, bearing in mind Butlins' Redcoats in the 70s, probably would have been someone who also went on to fame who'd done it. Brian Conley or Shane Ritchie. If it was Les Dennis what done it, that would be in the Wikipedia article as well.
Well, here's a question from Fabio, who says, in my local
Sorry,
pub...
can we just pause and admire the fact that we have a listener called Fabio?
Is it the Fabio?
It doesn't say, does it?
No.
There are two the Fabios, aren't there? There's the Fabio.
I'm thinking of And Groove Rider.
Oh, are you? I was
yeah.
thinking of the one that's on all of the covers of romance novels with
romance
his
novels
tits
from
out.
the 90s,
Long
yeah.
hair,
Yeah.
chiseled jaw, ridiculous
Yeah,
looking
Yeah,
man.
he's the one in the drum and bass combo, isn't he? He's had a very diverse career.
Fabio says, in my local park, Clissold Park in Hackney...
My local park too.
Oh my God.
Let's meet up with Groove Rider and feed the ducks together.
They have recently reopened the cafe.
They
We
have.
know.
Bloody love it.
Big selection of meringues.
Yeah, it was a little bit pricey, we thought, didn't we? But basically tasty. I mean,
Yeah.
it's certainly an improvement on what it was before. I've actually had a row about this. This is a celebrity row, listeners, on Twitter with James Brown. Not as in James Brown, but as
He's
in...
past the point of
"I'm
rowing about
James
park
Brown, I'm
cafes."
mates with the Gallaghers. I used to edit Loaded. Him. He said...
That's a good impression.
Thanks,
Is that what
yeah.
it sounds
That's
like?
really- I don't know, I've never heard him speak. He said that Clissold Park was rubbish now because he wanted to take his sons there after the footy because he's such a lad.
And he couldn't because it's all come up and they've flushed out all the drug dealers and the broken glass.
Exactly. And his lads, they want a cheeseburger or a muffin. They don't want a...
Chorizo and squids
Yeah, exactly, which is what Helen had. Chorizo
Yeah.
and squid
Stew.
sort of brew thing.
stew.
That's what I was looking
Yummers.
for.
Chickpeas in it.
Yeah, he didn't want that. But I said to him, well, sorry, I love it. I live in the area too. I'm a young media professional. What are you going to do about it? And he got really angry. He said, it's not for wankers like you.
Who is it for then? No one else can afford to live near that apart from wankers like you.
He's a fucking aging young media professional.
He is.
He's jealous of you, Ollie.
I know, he looks himself in the mirror and he sees young Ollie Man looking at him.
Thinks he's still got the teeth to eat a meringue. It's so unfair.
What you are, I once was.
Fabio continues.
Does he?
They have recently reopened the cafe and sell an item called a Babyccino. I don't know what a Babyccino is, and they're rather expensive, so I don't want to buy one.
Is this steamed milk?
Wait! So,
It's a steamed milk.
wait.
Okay.
So, Ollie, answer me this. What is a Babyccino?
It's a steamed milk.
Yeah, as Martin said 3 times, it's steamed milk.
It's frothy milk that looks like a cappuccino, but most importantly, you're not feeding a baby caffeine.
That's right.
I think it's quite a clever ruse by cafes because it means that mums who like to leave the house and do a thing that they used to enjoy before they were encumbered by children can do it. They can give the child a sophisticated adult-looking drink.
And pretend they're a colleague and they're out for lunch.
And they can,
Let's talk about our projected sales plan, shall we?
they can all sit there with their froth. This means they're more likely to stay there, spend money,
Yeah.
go there in the first place because it gives the impression of being child-friendly.
It's essentially the sort of Starbucks answer originally to the Happy Meal, wasn't it?
Apparently.
You're going to go, here's something to give your kids that's cheap. In Starbucks, it's free, I believe.
Yes, I was amazed at that. But not in America, though. Just here.
Just here,
Which
yeah.
is odd that a customer service thing is better here
Yeah,
than
that's
anywhere.
true.
And if you start them on the Babyccinos when they're fresh off the teat, then you're creating little Starbucks addicts for the future. But here's a question from Ian. He says, I recently watched Kes for the first time. I was fairly confident throughout that the eponymous Kes was not going to live to see the final credits roll.
Can we spoil this?
Well, it is from 1969,
All
so I
right,
think we're
yes.
safe.
You're right. Kes
Anyone
is
who
dead.
cares has seen it in the past 43 years.
Yeah, okay.
I've not seen it.
Fine.
It spoiled it for me. Thank you, Ian! However, when Kes did eventually snuff it, I was struck by the realism of the dead Kes that child actor David Bradley lifted from the dustbin and proceeded to swing around the family living room.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very jolly film.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big musical number at the end. Everyone swings a dead bird around and then they all kiss.
Instead of a gold walking stick like
That's
on
right.
Broadway. So, Ollie, answer me these. Firstly,
Yeah.
was it a real bird?
Yes.
If so, was it really dead?
Yes.
If so, was it the Kestrel that played Kes?
Of course it bloody was.
He was one of the finest Kestrel actors of his generation. They couldn't waste him do a Kes snuff
But
film.
he's made sure that he was able to attend the BAFTAs, of course. No, they didn't kill a bird because that would contravene all sorts of regulations if they'd killed a bird specifically for the film.
And
They
they might
found a dead bird.
And they might have needed to do retakes as well with Kes.
Well, Kes was, of course, a trained bird, and those are more precious than your average kestrel.
He was a bloody diva as well. He wouldn't sign the contract that allowed him to be killed.
He was very insistent that his billing came first. That's why his name's in the title.
His billing, very good. It's more for ducks, though, to be
Yeah,
honest.
well, anyway, so no, it was a real dead
Dead
bird,
bird.
but it wasn't Kes. Ken Loach, the director, didn't tell the child actor David Bradley that it wasn't the real Kes. So that's why his emotion is so raw and so real, because the actor had developed a bond with the real Kes during the filming and was genuinely upset, waving its dead body around the room.
Well, it's quite a gross thing for any child to do. But it was a dead bird that they'd found, right? Not one they'd killed especially for the occasion.
So it seems. I wasn't there. I don't know what dark secrets happened in the filming of Kes.
I haven't seen the film, but I should imagine that one dead kestrel looks much like another kestrel to the layperson viewer.
Yes, I'm sure that's right.
You're not going to be like, hang on, that's completely ruined the film. They haven't made up that kestrel to look the same.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I'm not sure I've seen any other examples of 1960s Yorkshire committed to film either. So all of that could be fake as far as I know. I just assumed it was real. It
just
could have all
painted
been
it on
mocked
the
up in
studio.
1985 for all I know. I didn't see it until then.
Conspiracy theorist Ollie Mann strikes again. Kes was done on a soundstage next to the moon landings.
And Myra Hindley directed it.
If you've got a question, then email your question to answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com.
Here's a question from Alice. So, retrospectors, what historical events are we ticking off on this week's run of Today in History?
On Monday, the anniversary of the day Ozzy Osbourne and a bat came face to face on stage.
On Tuesday, we go back to the future with a potted history of the DeLorean.
On Wednesday, why is the Pope guarded by those guys in floofy hats?
On Thursday, how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ended up in Cleveland.
And on Friday, was Henry VIII really an asshole, or was it just the result of a jousting accident?
We discuss this and more on Today in History with the Retrospectors. 10 minutes each weekday, wherever you get your podcasts. From Edinburgh, who says, my fiancé was wondering aloud about the origins of the term cold feet.
You have such interesting chats.
He says, as we're in the process of planning to get married, I'm sure the query came into her head thanks to putting up with chilly feet in
yes.
bed.
Yes, that's it.
Rather than any reconsideration of our future together. Helen, answer me this. Where did the term having cold feet come from?
Well, it's popularly attributed to the novelist Stephen Crane and his book...
Never heard of him.
No, me neither. Maggie, A Girl of the Streets, published in 1896. But actually, it's been around for way more than that, for about 400 years before that. It meant that you didn't have any money, and so if you were betting, you had to retreat from the table. You know, you had to back away from a card table, for instance.
Okay, what's that got to do with your feet or getting cold?
Well, I guess, you know, if you're in a place betting, and then you leave that place, you're no longer near the fire or anything warm.
Or there's the heat going on at the table with all the heat from the hot gambling.
Or if you're poor, you couldn't afford shoes because shoes were a very expensive commodity.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with backing away from a marriage?
Cold feet meant that you were poor.
Yes.
And then if you were poor, then, you might not be up for doing a bet. So you see how these things get interlinked. And then it just came to mean somebody who was retreating from a thing.
I mean, it's kind of, yeah, okay. I mean, the analogy is sort of not having the balls, not having the metal, not being able to step up, isn't it? Getting cold feet in that sense away from the gambling table.
Yeah. And also, apparently, the body exerts a fear response where the blood flow is withdrawn from the extremities during extreme stress and fear, which would mean your extremities felt colder.
Mm-hmm. Did you have cold feet? And I genuinely don't mean did you worry that you were marrying the wrong man. I just mean...
Yes!
Because we all know the answer to that.
That was your first husband, right?
I mean...
Third time lucky.
You know, did nerves get the better of you at any point, and did you think, I'm not sure I should be doing this?
I never had doubts about Martin, but I really hated the process of planning a wedding and having to get married.
But you
and
were
I
really
sort
good
of,
at it.
No, I wasn't. And I thought, why am I doing this? And I completely lost sight of what marriage meant to me and what the point of it all was.
Right.
And so, in that sense, yes, but at no point did I think I shouldn't do it because I thought the problem's not Martin, so I might as well carry on. So I didn't have that panic.
Right.
That's good, isn't it? Even though I was having such a disagreeable
the best
experience...
kind of wedding nerves to have.
Yippee! Even though I was having this disagreeable experience, I thought, well, at least it's confirmed to me that I'll put up with it because I like Martin to such an extent.
Planning a wedding is obviously so stressful for everyone involved. Well, I wonder at what point, if a bride doesn't show up on the wedding... I'm saying bride, it could be a man as well,
Yes.
couldn't it? It could be the groom. On what point on the day itself, if either the bride or the groom doesn't turn up, is it called off? Like... If the bride's half an hour late, I've been at loads of weddings where that's happened, and people even joke about the fact, cold feet.
Really?
And it actually, maybe it is. But anyway, they come and they go through with it.
It's usually because her makeup is unsatisfactory.
Yeah, the limo didn't show up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it goes past an hour, I think at that point they'd probably say to everyone, okay, this is a bit embarrassing, but, would you mind standing up and milling around for a bit? Because they're not going to leave you on the pews, are they, at that point?
Well, there's probably another wedding waiting to come in.
Exactly. But I still think after an hour, like say at 90 minutes, if the bride came in then, they'd still go ahead with the wedding. But I reckon after 2 hours, so you've had an hour of standing around after an hour of sitting around, it's over. Like even if she comes back at that point, it's over.
Well,
it's too obvious, isn't it?
Who would want to marry such a tardy woman?
That's right.
I mean, it's arrogant, that level of lateness. She's essentially saying, my time is more important than all of your time.
Yeah, but
rude.
The thing is, that is kind of what the bride's saying when the bride turns up half an hour late, isn't it? But everyone's all right with it because they're like, well, she's the bride.
Yeah.
Her time is more important than mine.
I was on time.
I
was very busy.
You weren't only on time, you were greeting people as they arrived. Yes. You were there first.
How do you do? How do you do? And I was really busy on the mornings, had to make the vegan cakes.
Yeah. I love the fact that Alistair from Edinburgh just asked us the origins of this phrase, and we've treated the question as if he said, my fiancé is about to leave me. What should I do?
Well, we've got to interpret these things as we may.
Well, here's a question from Farmer Bert from the Peak District.
Evocative.
Who says, Helen, answer me this. Why is the game Ping-Pong called Ping-Pong? Because it doesn't make a ping-pong noise.
It is called ping-pong because it makes a ping-pong noise.
It sort of does make a ping-pong noise.
But
quite hard to think how... I mean, you could call it... But that's just not very easy to write down.
One of its early names was Whiff Waff as well.
I remember that.
Do you?
No, yeah, because...
I don't.
No, I'll tell you why...
You were around in the 1890s?
No, I wasn't, but of course Boris Johnson was. And he made that speech, didn't he, at the Olympics? He went to...
Beijing.
To Beijing, right, and he said, we're very proud that the Olympics is coming back to the home of Whiff Waff. And that's what because it's a British sport, ping pong.
Yes, it's like some sort of farting based game.
But you could waft the fart away with the bat. Ping pong was invented by Victorians as an after dinner entertainment, and they did it on the table, and they made a little barrier out of books as the net, and they used a cigar box lid as the paddle and a champagne cork as the ball.
Oh.
But that's not that bouncy, a champagne cork.
No, well, that's why it got replaced by a ball when someone went to America and discovered ping pong balls.
discovered aerodynamics.
Well, they discovered celluloid and thought that's a better material for a ball because you can make it round, whereas a champagne cork is a very difficult shape.
But the point of adapting your dining table, if you've got one, into the table for ping pong, IKEA still sell kits that let you do that.
Yeah, you could probably make it into a billiards table as well. Actually, it probably was the billiards table with a net over it, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, probably was.
But apparently the name ping pong was far too feminine for men to play, so that's why they had to pretend it was called table tennis.
Ah.
Yeah.
What's the longest you've ever spent playing ping pong?
Well, I think about the time it took the ball to whiz over the table at me and for me to miss it.
Yeah.
What's that? Less than a second?
Yeah.
How do you do? I'm Jackie Mason, and I'm the guy that was a big hit just now on the Helen and Ali show. But I'll tell you the truth, after speaking to them, I think they are fantastically intelligent people, and you'll be very impressed with them. Why I'm not impressed with them, I don't know.
Right, well, last week we had an internationally renowned comedian on the show. This week we've got some of you drunk calling us up.
And drunks and soberists alike, if you want to give us a call, here's the number.
02081235877.
Or you can Skype answer me this if you can hit the keys accurately enough. Let's see who's been in touch this week.
Hi, it's Beth and Bea from Lewis. Helen and Ollie, answer me this. What happened to the money that people put in the fountains at Trafalgar Square?
It goes up to money heaven.
Does it?
With Queen Victoria.
I bet it doesn't. I bet there's an elderly man with a specially adapted rake or something who gathers it.
Why elderly?
Because it feels like a relic. You know, in a few years' time, we'll all be using our phones to pay with things. You know, we'll be using Google Wallet or something.
We'll be throwing our credit cards into the...
Exactly. Or there'll be a PayPal micropayments facility in one of the lions' mouths on Trafalgar Square.
Well, I don't know if the man or woman who does it is old, but they have a very important job, Helen, because they are creating revenue for the Greater London Authority.
Oh, really?
And presumably that goes into restoring the fountains after he's stuffed a bit of it into his pocket and told no one.
You wouldn't want to do that because that water is probably riddled with germs. I was reading about the Met in New York, where they've got, I think, several fountains now to grab people's money.
It's weird. It's so weird.
And they rake that out once a week, and they have to clean all of it. It's a bit of a pain. You think that probably costs more than the coinage that people have thrown in there, because you can't even put a high denomination in if you're in America, because that's paper money.
The thing that I always find weird is when you go to Disneyland and there's people throwing money into It's a Small World.
It's
like
a metaphor.
Yeah, exactly. You've paid $60 to come in here. What are you throwing more money at them for?
It's sort of superstition, I suppose. It feels lucky. And I know it doesn't work or anything, but...
What do you mean? Look at the incredible life you have.
That's true, actually.
Beautiful wife. Lovely job.
Stop complaining, Martin.
Yeah,
10 guitars.
All your dreams have come true.
Lovely head of hair.
That's true, actually.
The act of chucking the coins in the fountain is kind of ancient thing. The Greeks used to do it as an offering to the naiads.
Is there any point in ancient Greece, in a day, where you weren't offering something to the gods?
The problem with Greek gods is that there are loads of them, which means there's always one that's angry at you and needs to be appeased. So you think, okay, I've done the ox.
Yeah.
I've cut off my hair. I've killed my firstborn. Oh, the naiads are going to get me. Shit.
Found a fascinating fact about the Trafalgar Square fountains.
Yeah?
They were installed by the Victorians, not for beauty.
What?
But why?
But why?
I know the reason why, and it's good.
Was it drinking water?
No.
Was it for flushing toilets with or something?
No, that would be a good Victoriana type fact, but it's not that.
Was it pumping water out of the embankment?
No, think about Trafalgar Square now and what it's used for now.
Feeding pigeons.
No, keep going.
Tourists.
Keep going.
Funny concerts.
Nearly, yeah, funny concerts for what?
Pink did a thing and T-Mobile filmed it.
Oh, God. No, it's used for riots, isn't it? And protest politics.
Awesome.
People use it for gatherings, right?
And they thought, you know what we need before we get kettled? Fountains and some cherubs in them.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What?
The fountain actually has a tiny little police station in it.
What the shit?
Yeah. There's a police post inside a granite column in the corner of the fountain, which linked at the day directly to Scotland Yard.
Stop dicking with me.
Honestly, and it had slots through which people could fire on rioters.
And if you want to pick off a few pigeons without telling anybody.
I'm an Answer Me This fan. I listen with my nan. She is not so keen. She finds it too obscene. I follow them on Twitter, though Ashton Kutcher's fitter. I want to take things further, just one step short of murder. I want to look like Ollie Man. I want to smell like Ollie Man. I want to be like Ollie Man. I want to chase like Ollie Man. I want to look like Ollie Man. I want to talk like Ollie Man. I want to
Well, here's a question from Andy from Newport, who says, there are some really bad movies made that were released to the world, but Ollie, answer me this. What is the biggest box office failure of all time?
Wow, okay. People will always say that it's Cutthroat Island.
But that actually made money. I know it was high budget at the time. The Gina Davis film, there was a pirate ship.
Basically, what happened... I've heard a really in-depth interview with Rennie Harlin, the director, about this on a podcast that I listened to called KCRW's The Business, which is a Hollywood podcast.
An Ollie Mann pick.
It is very good if you're interested in that sort of thing. And he does a long, 40-minute explanation as to why, even though everyone says this is the most loss-making box office failure of all time, that it lost $139 million in inflated terms now, that it didn't.
Get over it, Rennie. It was ages ago now.
Well, to be fair, he hasn't made that many films since, so he's still paying for it slightly.
He's never made a film that allows him to make more films now.
Yeah. He said it made loads more money back on DVD and telesales and stuff afterwards, to the point where it's almost broken even now. And B, the studio that financed it, they were going bust anyway. They basically went into administration before the marketing got done for the film.
Right.
So he basically said, well, if they can't pay for the marketing, no one's going to go and see an action film in which the main character is female, is Gina Davis playing a pirate. No one's going to go and see a woman in an action film unless you market the hell out of it. And they'd always depended all along on it being a big marketing budget, which wasn't there.
That sounds like horseshit. I remember it being very heavily marketed here and everyone said, but it's bad. And so
I think it probably is quite bad.
But also, how do you work out a flop? Because a film that flopped years ago, it might have made a few thousand back on a 30 million budget, but now film budgets are so huge. So, do you do it by proportion of what was made as opposed to what was spent? And if so, therefore, if you made a film for £1,000 and no one went to see it, so you made naught, would that be the biggest flop?
Well, the generally accepted way of measuring this, although I think this is fair because it doesn't involve DVD sales, is about the amount of dollars that it lost that are between what it cost to make and then, what it recouped at the box office. So number one on that scale is Cutthroat Island. And that's, by the way, whether you adjust it for 2012 prices or not. Then there's one called The Alamo with Dennis Quaid and Billy Bob Thornton, only $1 million behind. And then Battlefield Earth, which is John Travolta being terrible about Scientology. And then Raise the Titanic's in there as well in that list. That was the film about which Lou Grade famously quipped it would have been cheaper to lower the Atlantic. That's a great showbiz anecdote that people from the 70s always say.
There was a film that Uma Thurman was in called, I think, Motherhood. And that had a budget, not a big budget by today's standard, but about 10 million. And on its opening night in England, it made £9.
Oh, Christ.
Not recouping well. Here's another entertainment question from Harry from Birmingham, who says, Ollie, answer me this. Do the guys on channels like E4... The lads, who do the voice for the bits in between TV shows saying what's coming up, do it live or not? And so... is there a person hired just to do this?
Yes, unthinkable as it is. There is a continuity announcer, and they are hired just to do that seemingly trivial job of linking between things.
And yet it means that if suddenly the programme fails, they go, I'm terribly sorry, there appears to be a problem with the transmission, but we will return to The Simpsons shortly.
Yep.
Well, I can see that happening for the BBC. They would be very posh like that, wouldn't they? But if it's like Viva, we've got a show coming up for you on Viva, how would they respond to a technical problem?
I didn't know you moonlighted for Viva, Martin.
Oh, the voice of the youth speaks.
You're absolutely right, yes. Some of the digital channels, they don't have live continuity announcers, but they're still hiring someone to do it. It's just, it is all done on tape.
So they just go into a room at the beginning of the week, record a couple of hours of continuity links, and then someone plays them out.
Jackson Leeds. Helen and Ollie, answer me this. I've just seen a film with the Barbershop Quartet in it. Why are four men singing in harmony called the Barbershop Quartet?
Well, people used to gather in barbershops and sing. So the barbershops were like a community centre, because the men could go there and get away with the singing.
While they're having their haircut?
No, I think people would just hang out at the barbers. Like in South London, often you'll pass a hairdresser's at about midnight, and it will still be absolutely rammed with people. You think, is there something suspicious going on? But they're just hanging out. So I think it kind of originated in barbershops for African American men who probably didn't get many chances to socialise in the racist bits of America.
They've got Lindy hopping
in the 1800s. But while they were waiting for their haircuts, they had a sing to pass the time. They harmonised with each other, and that's where the style of music came.
No, that is really interesting, because I think of barbershop quartet as being a very white style. I don't think of it as being a black style.
Like all good things in music, the white people came and nicked it.
That is really interesting.
Well, apparently barbershop kind of died out a bit in about 1920 because radio came in and dance bands came in. And then, the tunes were more for one vocalist and poor old barbershop relegated.
Now we've got master composers like Will.i.am. We don't need harmony, do we?
Ollie's really angry at Will.i.am at the moment, guys.
That song's just so awful,
I don't know which one you're talking about, so many to choose from.
It's the one that's ostensibly all about getting a boner, and it's got Mick Jagger on it.
And
Actually,
J-Lo.
I'm making it sound great. It's not great.
That sounds like every Rolling Stones song.
Mick Jagger, J-Lo, he's in a fake aeroplane, he's leaping over concrete slabs.
No, but Helen's describing the video, which is quite exciting. You watch the video and you almost don't notice that the song is such a terrible dirge that you need to check yourself into some sort of clinic to recover afterwards. It's fucking awful.
They used to be a proper rapping group, didn't they?
That was a long time ago, Martin. Since then, they've been busy remixing the theme from Dirty Dancing and stuff.
Classic rap lines like, here we come, here we go, wop, 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 wop.
Wow.
Up and down, round and round.
Wheels on the bus.
I don't know about you, listeners, but sometimes I reach the end of a podcast with a wanton craving for more. In such moments, I confess I have recourse to the Answer Me This app on the iPhone and, additionally, in times of dire need, Android, upon which I have indulged in the weekly bonus material and over 3 hours of best bits.
Here's a question from Maria from Hong Kong, who says, I live in Hong Kong. Ollie, you should visit and I'll take you to Hong Kong Disneyland.
Yay!
I'm not sure about that.
You want to go to all the Disneylands, though, don't you? Isn't that your lifetime's ambition?
No, because they're all the same. I can go to the one that's near me.
There's one near you. Yeah, there's one in Haringey now. Very convenient. And then you can pop into the Edmonton IKEA on the way home.
Helen, answer me this. Did you ever do a Myers-Briggs personality test to find out your personality type?
No, until we received this question. And now I have done. Actually, I did too. And they came up with differing results.
Okay.
So, according to one, I am the architect. And INTP. But according to the other, I am the craftsman, ISTP.
You can't put the letters after your name anyway, Helen, whether you want to be an architect or not, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
The thing is, the craftsman and the architect are very dissimilar seeming characters.
Okay.
The craftsman sounds like a surf dude twat, and the architect sounds like Asperger's.
Well, the thing is, the questions that it was asking, because I did this test as well.
It only offers you yes or no, and sometimes there is a grey area.
Well, exactly, or things where I actually agree with both.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the questions was, at work I am A, relationship-focused, or B, task-oriented.
Depends if your girlfriend's there or not.
Well, it's just like, I mean, you can be task-oriented in a way that involves relating to people,
Yes,
can't you?
exactly.
And then there was, well, I prefer someone who is A, empathetic, or B, efficient. It's like, I like people who are both, thank you.
Yeah, but if you're getting your car serviced, you probably care more about it being done by an hour hence than by somebody understanding your personal turmoil.
Although I would like the person who's actually doing the bill at QuickFit to be very empathetic of my credit card situation.
I'm going to describe the craftsman to you and see if this rings any bells. The craftsman shows little interest in developing language skills, but seeks fun and games on impulse, looking for any opportunity to play with their various toys, cars, motorcycles, boats, dune buggies, hunting rifles, fishing tackle, scuba gear, and so on.
Fishing tackle and no interest in language. This sounds so much like you.
They thrive on excitement, particularly the rush of speed racing, water skiing, and surfing. And crafters are fearless in their play, exposing themselves to danger again and again. For the architect, there are some things that I think you're going to enjoy. It is difficult for an architect to listen to nonsense, even in a casual conversation, without pointing out the speaker's error.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like you.
Yep.
I came out as the advocate.
Oh, yeah? What does that involve?
ENFP.
Loves avocados.
It says, my primary function is extroverted intuition.
I'm not surprised.
They actively send their thoughts and ideas out into the world as a way to bring attention to what they feel might be important.
Well, fancy that.
Which often has to do with ethics and current events.
No, not in this case.
No. And then at the bottom, it compares you to celebrities that have got the same category as you. Apparently, Andy Kaufman is an advocate, and Bill Cosby, and also, this is really weird, Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
That's not a real person.
I doubt that the writers of The Little Mermaid made Ariel sit a personality test. So how do they know?
Who sat these tests for Bill Cosby and the late Andy Kaufman?
Yeah, it seems unlikely, doesn't it? But I think what I would say with my expressive intuition, Maria, is that this test sounds a bit flawed.
I mean, this doesn't really have that much more weight than the ones that are in the backs of women's magazines about whether you're more a handbag or a lipstick.
Well, whether you're a handbag or a lipstick, or perhaps an eyeliner.
We don't want any eyeliners getting in touch with the show.
All types are welcome, Helen. Then you can get in touch and ask us a question for a future edition of Answer Me This. We'd very much like it if you did.
That's true. And all of our contact details, the email address, the Skyping, the phone, are listed on our website,
AnswerMeThisPodcast.com, where you can also find, and new listeners might not know this, the first 80 episodes of our show. Ooh. So the first 2 years' worth of the show is there. If you've worked through our free back catalogue, it's there on our website.
You need more!
You need much more. Helen slapping her arm like a heroin addict.
I can't get the vein up. Too many blood donations. It's collapsed.
You wouldn't want to put a podcast in there.
No, I don't really want to put a podcast anywhere in my body.
No. They're not made for digital files. Yet.
Future generations will have an automatic docking system.
And you think about that, don't Google automatic docking, and we'll see you next week. Bye!